see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay, hey, yeah, ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another episode podcast to talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. Huge shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. Michael, Jameson, Uncanny, appreciate you guys for being here. By the way, we are going to have a good, fun-filled show for you guys today. I got my guy, Mythic AZ, coming on here. We're going to be chopping it up, all things Arizona Cardinals. But first things first, let me give a huge shout out here to the sponsors of the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. BetUS, if you're looking for a brand new sportsbook, BetUS is the way to go. Currently, right now, if you use promo code YouTube150, they will provide you with a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on the following two. That's going to be using promo code YouTube150 upon signing up. Of course, bet responsibly and bet within your means. But another thing that has to do with BetUS as well, they currently do have a casino as well. So spin your way to a massive jackpot with BetUS Casino and their amazing deals. 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 and 250% sign-up bonus if you sign up with crypto. So BetUS Casino. All right, let's go and get started here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and bring up my guy, Mythic AZ. What's up, brother, man? How you doing? It's been a while. How you been?
It's been a nice little minute, man. I've been doing all right. I've been sick 3 times, so not a lot of content flowing through my channel, but it is nice to be back, man. Heard you went on a vacation. How'd that go? How have you been?
Good, man. Cold. Although I like to say, oh, the heat. That's who I am, man. It's heat all the way here for me. Every time I get up north, I love it. But I just got to visit it. I can't live in snow, man. It's too freaking cold. I love the heat. Give me an AC, and I'm good here in the summer. I'll be all right.
I can't even sleep in the heat. Like, it's too hot, can't do it. Cold pillow, have to have it.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's pretty brutal. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about today. It's been a while since we've collabed, and I appreciate you for jumping on. Obviously, we went through the 2024 season. The Cardinals finished off at 8-9. Although you can say good things about the way that they finished. Some people might say negative things about the way they finished, but at the end of the day, we're all looking forward here to 2025, and hopefully that next step is taken. But I want to go ahead and first start off here. If you guys aren't reading the title, Chiefs versus Eagles Super Bowl. Real quick, before we jump into Cardinals topic, I want to get a gauge in how you feel about Chiefs versus Eagles Super Bowl. Did you predict this? Did you expect this? How do you overall feel about this? And then we're going to talk a little bit of playoffs, and then we'll jump on to Cardinals. But overall, Chiefs versus Eagles, how are you feeling?
I mean, I thought the Eagles were the best team in the NFC, and this is dating back to like week 6. Nothing really changed. Like, if Jalen Hurts was healthy, team is a juggernaut. Offensively, defensively, best overall team. And then Kansas City, same thing. I did kind of expect this, especially before the week even started. I tried to put money on this with my friend. He's a Commanders fan, did not want to bet me. I tried to take the Bills to lose, and I also tried to take the Eagles to win, and he said no. So he backed out. Kind of upset because that could have been an easy $100. Did predict this. It's not the happy outcome because I would rather have Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen in the Super Bowl. That would be a lot better for me. I'd like to see Josh Allen get that first one, but no, of course not. But so now I'm watching a Super Bowl that I could really give 2 Fs about at the end of the day. I don't want to see the Chiefs three-peat, so I guess it's Philadelphia or die right now. Not a fan of that. Like, I like Saquon, so if he gets a ring, then I'll be happy at the end of the day. But Philly's fan base winning, I don't know. I just, it's a lose-lose. Are you feeling the same way?
Yeah, no, I do. I really feel the same way too. And it's unfortunate, man, because you usually get excited about the Super Bowl, but I don't know. I'm kind of feeling a lot of like fans out there, just NFL fans, not Cardinal fans, but just fans of the NFL in general. They kind of feel a little fatigue on what's currently going on. I don't know, man. It's hard to not look at Chiefs versus Bills and kind of diagnose certain specific things that you're just like, what are you doing, refs? Like, and I'm not trying to blame it all on refs. Like, I don't even know why the Bills were constantly trying to push for this whole freaking time. Like, it's probably one of the main reasons why they lost. But like, it's so hard to not look at the narratives out there about the refs giving some crazy ticky-tacky calls over for the Chiefs to continue their ways and obviously continue to momentum going their way. But I agree. I would love to see Josh Allen finally get his ring. He had an MVP type year, and it's unfortunate that it ended up this way. And it always ends this way with Lamar and Josh Allen. You go against Mahomes, it's a no-go, man. You just can't seem to beat him in that biggest games. It's unfortunate.
He's Number 15, we're going to have some discussion soon, man. I mean, number 15 is a guy, one of the best guys of all time. And it's crazy because he's, 27 years old, 28 years old, 29? Like, he's not 30. And he's on a verge of a three-peat. And if he gets a three-peat, I think Travis Kelce retires. That's just my opinion. It's not anything set in stone. But, I mean, if you can three-peat and your brother just retired, I don't know how else you can go out. That's, like, the biggest thing that you could ever do is three-peat and then see ya. So if Patrick Mahomes can do this without Travis Kelce as well, and he can continue to get all of these average wide receivers active, I don't know. There's going to be conversations. I'm not happy about it, and hopefully their reign ends soon. It's kind of like New England all over again, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm sick of seeing one team dominate, man. It's been Golden State for basketball. It was freaking the Patriots for the longest. It just no other team but the Patriots, and now we got Kansas City just dominating. It's like, I'm sick of it. And I mean, they've just built something so nasty there. Like the coordinators there, some of the best in the league, one of the best defensive coordinators of all time, one of the best head coaches of all time. And they got Patrick Mahomes, and he is coaching his butt off, and Pat Mahomes is playing his butt off. Not a fan, but here we go. Here we go.
All I can say is, I hope Saquon gets a ring. That's all I can say. But let's talk about you. You kind of alluded to the Commanders, and obviously that's been a big talking point here within. Obviously, there's not much to talk about, right? You have your own channel. I got my own channel, and it's been very, very dry when it comes down to content. The Cardinals are retaining, or at least as of right now, all their coaching staff. Seems like they're going to try to add more pieces and run it back here in 2025 with the current state what we have right now, which, opinions out there differ, but I want to get a gauge on how you feel about Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury and the Commanders taking it as far as they did. Obviously, they got knocked out by the much better team in the Eagles, and I think we all kind of knew that, but it was a good story, right? It was a nice story to kind of go through. How did you feel overall with the success that you've seen from Cliff?
I mean, I think this is something all Cardinals fans kind of teeter-tottered with, and it was something that was unrealistic for us, which is unfortunate because he would have never taken a demotion down to offensive coordinator. Right. He had head coach money. He was going to be the head coach. We teeter-tottered, and we're like, oh, but what if he just takes a demotion and just sticks to play calling? Right. We all knew that he would probably thrive in that, and it was his first stint in the NFL. No one knew how it was going to go. He was experienced. He learned from us, and it's unfortunate that we were the first stop, but I mean, he's thriving as an OC. I'm happy for Cliff. It was never bad blood for Cliff. It just wasn't the right head coach opportunity. We can all admit that right now. I mean, even if he was a head coach right now, it doesn't fix anything. We're going to be in the same spot. Second half collapses. We couldn't get things going. Offensive play calling got how predictable. Like, you guys are complaining about Petzing. Cliff was potentially even worse. I don't know. I teeter-totter with that one every single day because Drew Petzing is – I shouldn't be able to look at the TV and it be 2nd and 11 and know you're going to run a halfback draw or you're going to run a screen pass.
Screenplay.
I shouldn't know everything that's going to be coming, but I don't know. I'm happy for Cliff. I like Jaden Daniels. I said he was the best prospect. If you remember when we were doing streams, I said Caleb
You
Williams
did.
I said an improviser,
Caleb.
And I said he's going to be the second best quarterback in this draft or third best quarterback in this draft class, and Drake Mays too. Jaden Daniels thrived. So, I mean, shout out to him. I mean, let's hope he stays durable because Washington quarterbacks haven't been able to do that. So I'm really hoping he has actual long-term success because the dude is a baller. And Zach Ertz too. I mean, shout out to him too. Heck of a season.
No, it's a really good.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, really good storyline. And yeah, Zach Ertz has definitely taken his game and I guess continued it, right, in terms of, being that reliable guy here for Jaden Daniels. And man, watching him play is good, is awesome. And obviously he's had some flashes actually in this last game too, but like it just got to the point where like you could tell that the 60 minutes, if the last 15, maybe even 20, the Eagles were running away with it. Like it was not even close at the end. So the right team won, right? In terms of the Eagles were the better team overall. But overall, Jaden Daniels is going to be a freaking problem in the NFC, man. And we don't have a lot of great caliber, future guys, right? Because obviously you could talk about Matthew Stafford, and he's always going to be that, but maybe his time is coming to an end pretty soon. But when you look at Jaden Daniels, he's going to give, as long as he can stay healthy, like you said, he's going to be a problem in the NFC side for years and years to come. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out. But good for Cliff. I don't know if he's going to take a head coaching job. They're all kind of seeming to be drying up at this moment. Did the Saints hire somebody yet?
I'm not sure, but if I'm Cliff, I wouldn't take it. And I
100% agree with you.
I hope he doesn't, because I think it'd benefit his career, and he's getting paid head coach salary and offensive coordinator salary. Just stay in Washington. Keep this thing building. Hopefully you keep your success. But, like, I'm not even saying this. Like, in like a hater aspect, I'm saying this, and like this would be a career mistake,
Yeah.
especially this year. Just stay and learn under Dan Quinn for another
Yeah.
year and just stay comfortable. And if you want to take it in the next year, by all means. All the head coaching jobs that I think would have been suitable for him have already dried up. I like the Chicago one, but they got Ben Johnson, which I think is the best hire possible. So
Agree.
they had to sit with that. So I think they're chilling. But Cliff, please stay in Washington for your career.
Yeah, because you're right. I don't think it's coming from a hater's standpoint, but like if you got a chance here to continue, the success that you've gotten in that rookie year with Jaden, continue it, man. It's only going to make you better. It's only going to get you a better job. There's going to be more, most likely, coaching positions opening up here in 2026, and you don't want to settle for that last position that's going to be available there. So I agree. I think Ben Johnson was the right pick for the Chicago Bears. So super curious about that. But let's go and dive right into it. And we got a lot to talk about here, Cardinals related. And I want to kind of obviously talk about the Arizona Cardinals and currently what we got going on. 2025, we are projected to have upwards of about 70,
72,
80 million.
73.
Yeah, it kind of goes back and forth amongst like caps over the cap and Spock track, but I think the last time I looked it's like 73. What is your overall thoughts and how this Arizona Cardinals organization should approach 2025? I don't want to talk draft, just free agency right now. What is your main focus that the Cardinals should attack heading in? By position first, not player. We'll talk about player a little later.
I think it has to be edge and defensive line. Like it has to be. I know you have Justin Jones and you have Bilal Nichols, but I wouldn't be mad if they dabbled into Cowboys if it's a tackle Osa, or if they go out and make a trade for an edge like a Micah Parsons, just entertain it like a Max Crosby. There's been rumors. I mean, he's going on X talking about whatever. You know how that's athletes nowadays kind of vocalize things like, hey, there's a problem here. I don't have guaranteed money on my contract. Yeah. They don't value me here. Come on, like let's get something done, whether that's putting pressure on the front office or whatever it is. Like there's clear like disgruntledness right there with Max Crosby. So, I mean, if you're not picking up the phone, I think that's a mistake at the end of the day, but you have to do something. Like Hassan Reddick is somebody I would also be cool bringing in at the end of the day, but that's kind of like the third option. I would like to see him paired alongside BJ Ojulari, and I think Zaven Collins is kind of somebody who just stands out like a complete just I don't even know, like a polar bear in Texas. Like it's just someone who doesn't fit the timeline right now. I know he can defend the run, one of the best edges, but like how do you play him if you go out and get somebody else? Does BJ Ojulari just fall into a rotational piece? Is that what we're going to be doing? I'm not sure because I'm high on BJ Ojulari because when he was playing, he looked pretty dang good. And yes, it was 2 years ago, but he looked like a stud in his rookie season when he came in the back half after he got settled in, the injury kind of wore off. He looked pretty dang good. And that torn ACL is a setback, so we'll see what he even looks like at the end of the day. Zaven Collins being here is nice, but I think it's got to be edge, defensive line. And if you want to dabble in, get maybe a Nick Bolton. That's a name that I didn't even know was available, but him and Trey Smith on the offensive line for Kansas City. I mean, they can't franchise and extend both of those guys, hopefully.
True.
I mean, it's possible, but if one of them whatever one goes to free agency, you got to dabble in. That's my opinion, because Kazir White is basically gone. I think we all know that. He kind of vocalized that on Instagram, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Where he basically said he was out, and Mac Wilson kind of was like, don't do this to me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's got to be defensive line, edge, inside linebacker, right guard. Those are the positions I want. So I'm hoping we can establish something. We have to build trenches.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think those are really good call outs. Let me ask you this real quick before we obviously talk about free agency, because this is the first step before we get into the draft. We've all kind of, and I think you made a video, I made maybe a couple videos as well on the idea that the Cardinals could potentially bring in or not bring in, but trading for a guy, right? And obviously that has to do with edge, whether that's Micah or Miles or who are those other guys? Oh, Max Crosby, right? Do you think it's actually realistic to say the Cardinals are going to do that? Or are you leaning on the side of caution saying Monty hasn't done that, I don't think he's going to do it? Like, what are you thinking? Do you think that there could be a big splash move made like that for the Cardinals? Because we got the money. We got draft capital, not a lot, but we got draft capital. Like, what do you think the Cardinals should do? Do you think we should go after a big trade, blockbuster trade like that?
I think it's time. I think timeline-wise, it's time. Like, all the contracts have expired. We have all the money to do it. Why wouldn't you go in right now? And I mean, we have people we can cut right now, like Jalen Thompson. If we make it a designated post June 1st, that saves us $10 million. If we want to have DTD be free safety, we could do that. Cut Jalen Thompson. That's a move a lot of people don't want to make, but that's possible. Jonah Williams, you cut him, designated post June 1. That's $10 million too. And then you could have Kelvin Beachum slide into right tackle, address it through the draft. However you want to attack that, that could get us up to $90+ million.
Yeah.
That's insane. If you have all this money, why not? Why not? Especially if all the people in the first round are gone. I mean, I am assuming either Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, or Max Crosby, one of those guys has to be available. After everything they've said, every single one of them have come out and you have heard different things. Micah Parsons, he said he wants a contract. He wants to be extended, and he said he'll even take less money. We don't know what's going on right there. We don't know if he's going to be available, but I'm assuming Dallas doesn't have the money to do it. They extended Dak and CeeDee Lamb. Where's that money coming from? I don't know. They're going to handicap themselves so much.
Yeah.
Them re-signing Dak was stupid. That's idiotic. Now Micah's putting pressure on the front office, wants a contract extension. Myles Garrett came out at the end of the season, and he said he has to have discussions with the front office because he doesn't want to rebuild. You know who also said that? Max Crosby, the exact same thing. I'm not here to rebuild. He's going to have talks, has no guaranteed money on his contract. What's going to happen? Not sure. But if any of those guys become available, and I would rather have Myles Garrett and Max Crosby over Micah Parsons because they can defend the run and they can get to the quarterback. Micah Parsons can get to the quarterback, isn't fantastic in run support. But if you can get any of them, I mean, why not? I wouldn't pay as much as I would for Micah Parsons as I would a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. Don't get me wrong. But if they're available, like, oh my God, imagine
Why
the
not?
culture. Imagine the culture shift we can get with a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. Imagine having them in the locker room with Budda Baker on that defense.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Max Crosby here?
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. And I agree. I think that sums it up well in terms of especially, you know, from people that cover this team and would like to see a big, I guess, jump in 2025, because you're right. Like, what's the next step from here, right? Hopefully double digit win, hopefully playoff berth. Some might say playoff win. Some people just want to hit a playoff berth, just depending on who you're asking. But I agree. I think why not, right? Why not pick up the phone and actually just ask to see what currently is going on with the state, because there is an obvious lack of talent on that defensive line. And although, yes, we can come out and say B.J. Ojulari is going to be the guy. And believe it or not, like, look at the roster right now. He's the best edge rusher you currently have right now on this roster.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even close, but health issues are a big concern. I like what Zaven Collins has done in terms of him coming in here and being as open. I'll go from middle linebacker to edge. I'll do what you want. Right? I love that about him in a player, but he's not a pure edge rusher. He's not that X factor. He's not the closer for you. Why not go after a guy like a Myles Garrett, Micah, or Max Crosby, or heck, I'll even throw another name out there. He's a little older, but you know, I do like Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. I don't know what is going to happen over there. They got to potentially sign back Jamar Chase. Also, T. Higgins might be available. They might have to sign him. Their money is going to dwindle away here pretty soon as well. So we don't know exactly who's going to hit the open market, but I agree with that, man. I agree. Like, why not? Like, how long is it going to take? The rebuild needs to start producing. And although year 2, you can ask somebody and say, yeah, it's already produced, right? We've gone from 4 to 8 wins, but okay, well, now let's take that next step, right? Let's get that playoff and let's actually fight for the Lombardi. Are we going to win it next year? Well, probably not, but give us hope. Give us something to go out there. But I always kind of go back, and I think you kind of always go back to, is this a Monty Alstonfort move, right? We always kind of go back and forth with that. He loves draft picks. Now, does he only love draft picks because the plan was this year and year 3 and he was just going to make do with what it is? Or is that his philosophy for the remaining of his tenure being the GM of the Arizona Cardinals? Like, it's hard for me to crack that code without seeing him make a big move like that. And I think that is the big move we're all kind of waiting for.
And I'm not mad with the way we're attacking this thing whatsoever. Like, through the draft, I think it's smart. You cut all those guys, you got off all that money, and it was going to be a 1 to 2 year thing where all that was going to have to die off. And it did. We're no longer owed on the DeAndre Hopkins contract. We don't owe Rodney Hudson anymore. We don't owe anybody money at this point that's like super expensive. We have $70+ million. That's fantastic. Now, the thing that sucks, though, we don't control anything right here. Everybody we're talking about is under contract.
Yep.
They don't have to trade them. That's the unfortunate part right here, is all 3 of those guys are under contract. Yep. So we would have to make a trade, and the other side would have to be willing to move off a superstar. These are superstar players, every single one of them. And Trey Hendrickson, I'm not super high on. I think he can get to the quarterback, but I think he overshoots gaps. I mean, there's a lot of flaws in his game, especially in the run. Like, he can get to the quarterback, but I think he has a lot of overflated stats. But that's just me personally. If we can get anybody like the other 3 I mentioned, I'll take that. Like, absolutely. And yes, I would even be willing to give up a first-round pick for every single one of those guys, even though we have to extend them. Take the first this year, take a third next year. That's
Who do you think
my
is the most
starting
real?
package.
Not to the Cardinals. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Who do you think is the most
Just
realistic to
realistic?
get moved off? Like not to the Cardinals, but just move off of their team right now.
Oh man, probably Max
Yeah,
Crosby.
I agree with you.
I think just because there's no direction right now.
Yeah.
Like, what's the direction? You don't have a quarterback. Everything has been blown up. You just traded Devontae Adams last season. You hired a new head coach, I believe, which I don't even know who they hired. I'm
Wasn't it
not sure.
Carroll?
Was it
Pete
Pete
Carroll?
Carroll?
Yeah, I think
It
it was
was
Pete
Pete
Carroll.
Carroll.
Yeah.
So Max Crosby apparently liked that move because he liked something on Instagram. I don't understand like what's going on over there, but like he does not seem happy whatsoever.
Yeah.
He wants guaranteed money, and if they're not willing to give him that, like that is their franchise player. He plays most of the snaps. He produces. Like if they're not going to pay him, hey, I'm praying to God Michael Bidwell will open that paycheck and just let him write a number down and be like, hey, you're the highest paid. We got you for the next 4 years. He's like 26 years old. I'll sign you till 30. Cool. I've seen edge rushers produce at 31, 32, 33. I would even take a Khalil Mack for 1 year. Like I genuinely would. I would take a Khalil Mack. Would not mind it. Now that's not my favorite move because he's like 33, 34 years old, but I
Right.
would take it.
But if you do
I don't
have
know
a
why
Max
you wouldn't
Crosby
trade.
and then a Khalil Mack, that's a
Oh
game
my
changer.
God.
That's a game changer.
Oh my God. That's how you change that edge room in 0.2 seconds right there.
I didn't know how young he was. Per Google here, yeah, it seems like Max Crosby's 27. I didn't know he was that young. I think he was 29.
He's
First
young,
glance, I don't. He just looked like he doesn't look like a 27-year-old. Wow, he is.
right?
Cool.
He's young.
Yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett, I guess you could kind of say the same thing for his organization over there too. They're kind of in flux with their quarterback situation. I know he took a pay cut
Deshaun Watson.
negotiated his contract, so they
yeah.
opened up a little bit more space. But I do agree. I think Max Crosby might be the most realistic guy that's moved off of. Not saying to the Cardinals, but just off the Raiders, just in general. Yeah, that's fascinating. Let's see if the Cardinals could potentially make a move like that because that would be a damn, we're going for it type of move. And I really would love to see that from this front office. Let me ask you this, free agency. I know you mentioned a little bit of names already. If there's one or two guys that you would love the Cardinals to go after, right, whether it's edge or any specific position, who do you want the Cardinals to go after in free agency? It doesn't have to be edge. It could be wide receiver. It could be anything. What are those one or two players that you want the Cardinals to go after?
I think Trey Smith has been a constant for me, the right guard from Kansas City.
Okay.
He's been a constant in every single one of my mocks. Now, if Kansas City lets him go is a question, which who knows? They just extended Creed Humphrey, I believe. Is that the center's name? Or is that the Baltimore center?
I get confused too. I think it's Humphrey. Humphrey, I believe, is with the
Baltimore.
Chiefs.
Okay, so Creed Humphrey is with the Chiefs. They extended their center. That's all I know.
Yeah.
They extended their center. Are they going to be able to extend their right guard? I'm not sure. But if they hit the open market, I want to see Trey Smith here. And then another name I keep teeter-tottering back and forth with, and it's very tough, Milton Williams, defensive tackle for Philadelphia, and then the defensive tackle for Cowboys, Osa. Those are the two guys I'm teeter-tottering back and forth with. I think we need somebody on that defensive line.
Yeah.
And I'm also teeter-tottering with Hassan Reddick. It's so interesting. And that's kind of like the option if you can't get one of those guys that we just discussed. If you can't get them, pivot. Because I think Hassan Reddick could produce here. His production has dropped the past 2 seasons. But I think if you can get him in on like a 2-year contract with a 1-year guaranteed with a 1-year out, then we're chilling. I think it would be perfectly fine. And if he earns it, he earns it. Give him some incentive-based things. You reach 10 sacks, you get like $1 million. Like something. Just incentivize him.
So
I would be down.
Real quick, I know we were kind of confused with the Creed Humphrey. I'm right there with you as well in terms of the way my mindset is. Do you get confused, because I do too, with Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum? Because not that they're the same person or the same name or anything like that, but the Cardinals had an opportunity to get either of these guys. Is that where your mind goes? Because I was a little confused too, because Creed Humphreys is with the Chiefs, and he was a former was it OU player? So that's why
Kyler's the one who wanted him.
Yeah, Kyler wanted him. So that's what was. And then Tyler Linderbaum was the guy who went center to the Baltimore Ravens. The Cardinals could have got him too, but instead they used their first-round pick to bring in Hollywood. So is that why you got confused too? Because that's how I get confused. I'm not going to lie. The names are nowhere similar, but I can see where the confusion is. So Creed is with
I think that's what it is.
The Chiefs, and then Tyler Linderbaum, which is another guy that the Cardinals fans wanted, but the Cardinals ended up using a first-round pick for Hollywood. Okay, I can see where your mind went. So yeah, but he is with the Ravens. Okay.
The only similarity they have is they're white people. They're 2 white centers. They're 2 white centers. 300-pound white men. That's about the only similarities they got. Not even close to the same name. They don't look the
Not even
same. Like they
close.
got nothing close about them. They're just two big white dudes.
Yeah, and the way my mind works is I think the Cardinals had an opportunity here to get a center of the future. Because they don't not even look alike. One's got a beard. And yeah, okay. Anyways, so sorry, side note, but okay, I agree. So Hassan Reddick is back on your radar in terms of a guy that you would like the Cardinals to potentially bring in.
Yeah, because I wasn't down for the trade. Like I was teeter-tottering. A lot of people wanted to trade for him, and I wasn't down to give draft capital for him. But now that he's just fully available
Yeah,
and his production has been at an all-time low, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of leverage. There's not much
fair.
leverage. We saw what you did with the Jets. I mean, it took you so long to come back to even finish out your contract. Like, come on. Here's a 1-year, $10 million contract, 2-year, $18, $20 million contract, and one of them's a voidable year. Like, that's the kind of way I would go.
Yeah.
Personally.
Do you like the idea of, because I'm seeing some people in the comments, and I made a couple of videos on Josh Sweat. What are your thoughts on him? Would you like the Cardinals to potentially bring him in? Obviously, the connection with Philly and JG and Nick Rallis. Do you like that, or are you more of a Hassan Reddick?
I mean, Josh Sweat's cool.
Yeah.
I could get behind it. I could back that just because I think Jonathan Gannon's going to get the best out of anybody. Him and Nick Rallis are going to be able to scheme them perfectly. I mean, any talent that we're mentioning right now is better than what we have on the defensive line. So I think I'd be in a bad position to complain. Like, he's not my favorite priority. That's not somebody I would have high up there. But if he lands here, I promise you it'll be all smiles. Yeah. I'll be happy about it because I know he's going to actually produce. And Nick Rallis has gotten some stuff out of Dante Stills, Roy Lopez. Like, he's getting stuff out of these interior linemen. Where our leading sacker, which I think is crazy, but we can talk about this too. Our leading sacker, do you know who it is? He had 4.5 sacks.
Well, it was Dante, but it's Zaven now, right?
I think it was Dante Stills.
I think Zaven got 1 sack in the last game, and he took it. It was Dante.
Let's see.
Fact check me,
Zaven
though.
Collins. Yeah, Zaven Collins. Okay, so Zaven Collins has half a sack over.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Zaven's at 5.
But that goes to what you were saying, because like anything would be an upgrade. Like everything, like Dante Stills is the guy that was giving us the most production in terms of sack. He was at 4.5. Mythic. At 17 games, 4.5 sacks. And I like Dante Stills, don't get me wrong. But like that was our sack leader until Zaven got himself a sack, or I don't know if it was a half sack or a sack, but he's now set up at 5 sacks with Zaven Collins. So like, isn't that nuts? Like anything would be an upgrade, whether it's a Hassan or whether it's a Josh Sweat. Do you agree with the notion that this defense overexceeded with the players that we have on this roster? Are you on that boat, or you think that this defense was absolute dog water and they're the reasons why we lost a lot of these games? Like, what are your thoughts on the defense as a whole?
The defense is so weird because in the beginning of the season, they started out how we kind of expected with all the injuries and banged up. Like, if they were healthy, I think they would have performed a lot better, but they were a terrible defense for the first 8 weeks. Then they had a stretch in the middle of the year where they were really good. And then they had the back end of the season where they played terrible. They gave up almost 40 points to Carolina. That was rough to watch. That was a tough watch right there, where it looked like Bryce Young was just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Sure. And Chuba Hubbard was gaming us. And then Zach Charbonnet had 134 yards and 2 touchdowns on us. That's a backup running back. That hurt. Seattle's offensive line in the run game has not been fantastic, and they just manhandled us at the point of attack everywhere, every single play. And Kyler throwing those back-to-back picks didn't help, but Zach Charbonnet should not be popping off for 134 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So the defense has been super weird, and I do think they are the spot that needs addressed the most. I think if we can get a pretty solid defense and we can actually get a stop, and it's not just we need points right now because we're down 6-0, and if you don't score right here, or we're down 7-0, and if you don't score here, we're going to be down 14-0. That's not a good mindset to have. Like, at the beginning of the year, that's kind of what it was. Like, oh, well, our offense was really good in the beginning, and we scored, but we didn't score the second drive, so now we're down 14-7. Like, it was just tough to watch. So if we can address defense, I think we'll be chilling. I think they were the worst aspect of this. There were some offensive things that need help, too. Don't get me wrong. We need another receiver in my eyes.
Oh, anything could be upgraded on this team. I feel like if you look at the roster, I think anything could be upgraded. But yeah, to me, I don't know. I feel like the defense. So let me be clear, because when you say overexceeded, or some people might think that I'm talking about a top 10 defense, and hell no, I'm not talking about top 10 defense. But I feel like with the players that we got on this team, right? I feel like the defense has actually shown up that they can, or at least the scheme works. Can execution be better? Can the run block be? Yeah, of course. I think the scheme defensively works very well with Nick Rallis as well as Jonathan Gannon. Now, like you said, I think those guys can get the best out of specific players. Obviously, deciding who you bring in, but in 2 years, I feel like the most impactful players that the Cardinals have brought in free agency wise is Kazir White, which we most likely will lose in free agency with all kind of the rumbles and what he posted on Instagram, and then Mac Wilson Sr. Anybody else after that has been very, very meh, right? We were expecting a big jump from BJ. Unfortunately, he's not able to stay healthy. So with what the defense has done, and we've seen games where they shut people down in the second half. We've seen games that they did not allow a touchdown. I feel like that's kind of what you need scheme-wise, but you need the talent, man. You can only go based off of heart for so long because you can tell, man, 60 minutes is full football. Sometimes you'll get a good half. Sometimes you'll get a good second half, but you need to upgrade that defense. And let me ask you this. And I know I just said we didn't want to talk about draft, but those first 2 picks, are you confident saying right now that has to be defense? Or are you like, hey, maybe trenches or maybe even offensive line trenches, I'm sorry, and then defense here? Like, where's your mind going for those first 2 picks for the Cardinals?
I guess it depends.
Who falls?
Because Abdul Carter, I think, is the best edge in this, watching his tape, and even in games where, he's shut down or didn't produce. I mean, he's in the backfield. He's active. I think he has the best pass pro set and pass pro moves in this entire draft. I know a lot of people like James Pierce. Is his name James Pierce Jr.?
James, yep. Mm-hmm.
I think he's okay. I think he does flash on tape, but he's not my favorite. Mike Green. He's kind of a dog. He's kind of a dog. I'm not gonna lie. He had 17 sacks, which led in college, so absolutely ridiculous. And I know he didn't play a lot of top schools or any ranked teams, but in the ranked games, he was dominating. He was being very physical, and he shows NFL strength. He shows NFL speed. He can get to the quarterback. He has no problem bringing people down. And against those bottom tier teams, I mean, he dominated. But in the draft, I don't know, because there's people I like Emeka Ibuka.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we can bring him in the slot at 16 and he does fall, I know a lot of people aren't going to love that, but wide receiver back-to-back, like, I mean, that kind of fixes our problem right there. That gives us a legit slot receiver, and that lets Greg Dortch walk. I would be fine with that, absolutely. And that just establishes what we need. We got someone who can push it vertical down the field. His route running is fantastic. He might be one of the best route runners. I probably have he might be number 1, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of route running, he's either 1 or 2.
Well, there's only 3, to me, first round picks and wide receivers. Guy out of Arizona, McMillan, Luther Burton, and Emeka Ibuka. And that's such a fascinating topic to talk about because to me right now, if you ask me, like right now, we're sitting here in January of 2025. What would I like to do for the Cardinals for those first 2 picks? I would say defense. 85%. Okay, let me be clear. That 15%, there is a strong intrigue with the potential, like you said, potentially going after maybe a Luther Burton or maybe even Emeka Ibuka, right? Because if you do go 2 wide receivers back to back, you're 100% right. That does solve the issue that the Cardinals, if you're looking from the outside looking in, need a different type of wide receiver. Michael Wilson, love him. Bless his heart. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's only going to take that next step here in year 2, which I'm really excited about. But if you want to get a guy that's different, right, a different wide receiver, that's your Luther Burton or your Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State. So intriguing. Now, do I think the Cardinals are going to do that? I don't know, man. I'll have to kind of wait and see, obviously, what they do in free agency and then, heading into the draft. But that 15% right there is so intriguing to think of that because that could be a game changer on the offensive side of the ball. I ain't going to lie to you. So I'm actually glad you brought that up, or at least that you're thinking about any option, because if you ask anybody, they're going to say defense, right? Because I even did a mock draft, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and I was killed on the comments because people were like, why would you go offensive line? But I'm like, well, if you do
trenches.
Trenches. If you
I like Josh Simmons, but he's a left tackle, so it's like you can't move Harris back. I mean, you could. Yeah. You really could. At the end of the day, you could take Josh Simmons, who I think is fantastic too. Have him be your left tackle, or slide him over. But I think Josh Simmons. We saw what Paris did it right. Like, I feel like he could play both sides.
Well, so is
like,
Josh
if you really
Simmons
want
too.
To, or that's who I'm talking about, Josh Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Simmons. That's who I'm talking about. If you could bring him in as a left tackle, you could move Paris over. That solves the right tackle issue.
Yeah,
You could
and then you
bring
can
Will
get rid of
Hernandez
Jonah,
back.
like you
You
said.
could bring somebody back. You can cut Jonah Williams right there. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Josh Simmons comes to Arizona. I wouldn't be mad if Emeka Ibuka came to Arizona. Like, there's a lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball I would love. I think there's 3 positions on offense right now where I think we are absolutely set. And that is quarterback, running back, and tight end. Everything else needs help. Because Paris, you can move around anywhere. Froholt could be upgraded. I like Froholt for next year, but he could be upgraded.
You want a long-term answer.
Yeah, you have 4 people on the offensive side of the ball, and one of them is able to be slid over to the right side or to the left side. Like, if you get Josh Simmons, and I'm sure Paris would be like, hey, sure. I mean, he does whatever the coach asks. He went to right tackle first year to left tackle. And the Ohio State, I mean, that's Emeka and Josh Simmons. I wouldn't be mad sliding any of them in there. And Marvin Harrison Jr. played with Emeka. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that whatsoever. And that fills a slot receiver position that we need help at. He would be the best slot receiver we've had in a long time. Yeah. Since probably Larry Fitzgerald, when Bruce Arians moved him moved him into the slot. Yeah, and he didn't want to be there.
Let me ask you this real quick, because I know you said that the top 3 positions that you think we're set on. Running back, are you on the Cam Scatterbo or nah?
No,
I'm not.
I don't. I've been crucified. I said I don't think his game's going to translate to the NFL, and people are like, "How can you not see that?" Like, oh, blah, blah. He's like 5'9". He's slow.
Yeah.
I don't know how tall he is. Let me actually fact check that.
Yeah, no worries.
This is me being out of the loop, but he's not super tall if I'm not mistaken. I think he's 5'10".
I think a lot of people
he's 5'11", 215, and I think he's kind of slow and his game's not going to translate. I think what he does in college, I think he's one of the best ASU players of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
I think in terms of college, he was absolutely insane. Like, what he did, ridiculous. They could have beaten Texas. They easily could have beaten Texas. That game went to overtime. Like that, if you're an ASU fan, I would be sick to my stomach.
That game probably could have been a blitz away from ASU winning. Like, some people were confused as to why they blitzed, and then that guy was completely wide open. I forgot what that wide receiver was from Texas. So okay, so you're not on the Scatterbo train. Okay, because like if you think about it, like he might go like 3 or 4. Like in right now, the Cardinals seem to be set at the running back position with James and then Trey Benson. There's an intrigue. There's an intrigue about bringing in Cam Scatterbo. To me, at least to me, because of the ASU connections. But there is a lot of other needs for the Cardinals to address. So we'll see.
I just can't get behind it. Like, especially after the Trey Benson pick. Like, if Trey Benson wasn't here and he's there in the 4th round, sure, why not? Why not take a flyer on 4th round picks? Why not? Okay. But like 5'10", 5'. It says he's 5'11", but if you watch tape, he does not look 5'11". He looks shorter than Kyler. So
what he's done in ASU is bonkers, like bonkers.
Oh
like
yeah, he's
bonkers
ridiculous.
Numbers, and I think that's what people love about and ASU ties too. So okay, let me get to RC3 real quick. He put a super chat in here. He says, remainder teams want a draft pick. Don't have to be this year. So Crosby, you can move still and still trade a 3rd round this year as well. So I think he's saying, if I'm reading this correctly, 1st rounder and a 3rd rounder could potentially do it. And you said you're okay with that, right?
That's exactly what I mocked up. I'd give it my 1st this year at 16, which would hurt a little bit, but I would give it my 1st this year and the 3rd next year.
The 3rd next year.
2 different assets, so you're not taking a massive hit right now. You can still bring talent and get people in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And I mean, your 1st round pick becomes Max Crosby. That is a top 10 player in football right now. I don't think if you watch the Max Crosby tape and you see what he's able to do, it's just like, oh, we're containing Lamar Jackson. Oh, we're getting to Patrick Mahomes. Oh, you get in people's heads. You're annoying. I want that. I absolutely want that. Like, there's nothing about Max Crosby's game that I don't love. Even the antics. Bring it on. Bring it on.
And you don't have to go through the rookie questions, right? Because you know he can produce from the jump.
Edges are hard to hit on.
Oh yeah. Because there's some intrigue out there. Like right now, I think this defensive line, and I'm talking about edge and interior, this class is probably one of the best I've seen it coming out in a very long time.
Mason
So
Graham is also ridiculous.
yeah. So if like let's say for example, and here it depends what mock draft simulator you use, right? Sometimes he falls to second, sometimes he doesn't. But
Yes.
if the Cardinals were to somehow get something like that, or heck, I even see mock drafts where he goes in the first round to the Cardinals. Obviously in this scenario where we don't get Mac Crosby, but like I'm not mad at that either. I feel like anything could help the Cardinals get to the level that we need to get to. And right now we need to get to the level of we need to pressure that damn quarterback on the opposing side. And we just haven't been able to do it with the guys that we have. We're all hoping for Darius Robinson, fingers crossed that he can translate into that guy. It's just a lot of unknown right now on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of guys that we have that we brought in last year that didn't really, do very much because unfortunately injury happened. So yeah, Max Crosby would be nuts, bro. That would be nuts.
I keep thinking about it, and every time I think about it, it's just like I don't want to get my hopes up because it's like I know it's a possibility and I know it's something that can happen, but it's just like I need him to push that trade request through right now. Make me like get my dopamine risen a little bit because right now it's just like it's a thought and it's all subliminals, right? Like
Yeah.
we know he wants guaranteed money. We know that is an absolute lock right now. We know he doesn't want to rebuild, but the Raiders aren't in a good position right now. They can't. They're not going to be able to trade up. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to bounce anything. We don't know what Cleveland's even going to do. I think Cleveland is going. I think it's going to go Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and then Shador Sanders to New York. So outside of that, I mean, who do you got? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the Raiders are in a very tough spot because you're not getting your franchise quarterback. I don't even think Cam Ward is that fantastic personally. I like Shador Sanders. So if Tennessee goes Cam Ward and then Travis Hunter goes, New York's got their quarterback and the ties are there. You saw Brian Dabble dap him up. I mean, he was playing catch with Malik Neighbors on the street. Like, I think that's locked. I think those top three are locked right there. So the Raiders are in a bad spot. Like,
They really are.
why do you want to be there? It's kind of like Buda Baker playing for the Cardinals. You know, you're only there because you want to stay loyal. You want to stay loyal and you want your bag. This is the conversation we're having. I want my guaranteed money. If I'm playing for a bad team, I want to be the highest paid with guaranteed money. Pay me. I am the franchise.
Yeah.
And he can demand that. He can absolutely demand that. You know why? Pull up the tape and tell me I don't deserve to be highest paid. You're out of your dang mind if you don't think that. And guess what? I hope we're that team that pays him. I would trade draft capital. Take it all. Take it. Take it first. Take a third. And honestly, you could have a fifth next year too. Take it. It's all yours.
That's so fascinating, man. I feel like the Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and to me, Trey Hendrickson it's just a fascinating topic to talk about because that almost kind of seems like the step that the Cardinals need to do to kind of prove because they're, believe it or not, man, and you're on social media, man. You got your own YouTube channel as well. And obviously check out Mythic AZ if you guys haven't already. But, that almost kind of seems to be what Cardinal fans are missing. And then there's the other, side where it's like, we're not going to go anywhere if we don't, do this, do that, right? So you got a lot of pessimistic people, and you also got a lot of people saying, hey, the next step is 10 digits. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out. But let me go ahead and shout out here to my guy RC3 with another super chat. He says this: sign defensive tackle Milton Williams, 25-year-old, and he did correct himself. He said he's out of Philadelphia. So I'm looking him up. Milton Williams, 6'3", 290. He had 11 solo tackles, 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He was a third-round pick to Philly in 2021. They just hit, man. That organization hits, and
that
whoever falls to them, it's almost like they're so lucky in who falls to them. It's so nuts.
They just make the smart pick. It's the guy that always drops, like Nolan Smith being there. I mean, sure.
Quinion Mitchell.
Carter, sure. Quinion Mitchell. I mean, I can't believe he fell. That was insane to me. I remember saying that. I think that was absolutely insane. I don't know.
Have any thoughts on
Milton? He's the guy I brought up earlier. Him and Osa.
Oh, okay.
Milton Williams. I wouldn't be mad whatsoever. We need somebody in the middle. We absolutely need somebody in the middle. I wouldn't be mad signing to like a 3 to 4 year contract. That's somebody I would be perfectly content with.
Okay, let me ask you this because I don't know too much. I'm at the kind of Ryan. I can only look at stats. I don't really know about it too much. Does this give you better feelings to bring him in as opposed to what we did this last offseason with Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols? Like, is this an upgrade to you? Because I don't know. I'm only going based off what you said. Is this an upgrade?
This is definitely an upgrade. This isn't a player where it's like, hey, we're signing him. Like, I don't think it's like a super elevation, right? But He's
Better.
instantly the best defensive tackle on the
Okay.
team. It's not someone who's like, oh yeah, this guy's playing games, and then you got to try to buy into that, like I did last year, where I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, I understood him, like I still understand him, like it makes sense. Like, what did we struggle with the year before? Having our guys stay healthy. So you go out and sign people who played 16, 15 games their whole
Then they
entire
get hurt.
career, and then they get hurt. So like I understand it, right? Because like not only do they elevate your team, but like they can stay on the field.
Yeah.
So sure, we'll bring them in, but we saw how that went. So
Yeah.
can't trust them because as soon as you shoot up for the Cardinals, the injury bug exists. So I don't know. I think Milton Williams would be a good signing. Money wise, I don't know. That's the scary part because he's in a loaded room right now in Philadelphia.
Right.
Like, ooh,
That's
but
kind
he's
of
pretty
the
good.
Josh Sweat thing too, man. Because like, are you benefiting because the defense is so freaking good, right? Like that's what you also got to take into account as well. So like, I'm not mad at any of it, like us bringing any Philadelphia Eagle because like that team is good. Like you could say what you will about their, their fan base, obnoxious as can be, but Howie Roseman, the GM, knows how to draft, and he's so freaking lucky.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. When we talk about hits, I think he's just sensational. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane the way he's able to replenish talent. Like, you see all these names walk out of the building, and it's like, oh, the Eagles are going to suck. And then it's like, okay, well, guess what? We just brought in Darius Slay, Nolan Smith,
Yep.
Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox retired, Jason Kelsey retired, Cam Jurgens comes in here and steps it up. And it's just like, how?
Yeah.
What kind of deal did you sign with the devil, Howie? What are we doing here? You in Kansas City? It's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Y'all
It
are
is.
too good. I don't know. It's insane. I mean, hats off to him. Just absolutely ridiculous job.
I agree. We got my guy RC3 saying he won't be as much, and he's talking about Milton Williams. He says he won't be as much, and we can sign more people. I mean, if it's one of those things where it's like maybe just a little bit more than what we paid the other two guys, because I think they're good players. I think they're good depth players to have. So I'm not mad at the fact that the Cardinals went and got these guys. Some people were like, "Oh, it's such a bad picks," but I mean, like they got hurt. Let's see what year 2 and year 3 holds for these guys. But they're good depth players. They're good space eaters. Like they were brought in to stop the run. Now they haven't really done very much because of obviously injury. But if the Cardinals did do something like this, I wouldn't be mad at it, man. I think that would be cool.
I wouldn't be mad whatsoever. I'm also seeing something in chat that says bring back Kirk. Is that Christian Kirk? Is he a free agent?
It's a good question. Let me find out.
Bring back Kirk.
To be honest with you, if the Cardinals were to go wide receiver,
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate Christian Kirk coming back. I really like Christian Kirk, actually. But he got a bag, so I mean,
okay.
You, Christian?
He signed up to 2025, but
so he's under contract.
Yeah, he's under contract. 2026 and 2027, at least per over the cap. He's got voidable years in his contract in 2026, but in 2025, he seems like he's under contract.
Under contract. Okay, I was about to say I didn't see Christian Kirk. That's Hollywood Brown, but I didn't see Christian Kirk.
Let me ask you this real quick. I think we could agree that Emeka Buku would be cool, right? At least that 15 for me, 10% would be awesome to kind of, what about T. Higgins for you?
That's just so much money. That's like $25+ million.
Yeah,
or $20 million. Like, I just don't think. I think it'd be very irresponsible to pay $20 million to a receiver, or 20. I don't even know what you'd want. Like, let's go ahead and look it up right now. Like,
yeah. Unfortunately, market will. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay. And I think you're right. Because he's not $30+ million. Like, I don't think he's.
No, he's not a Justin Jefferson making 35 or a CD making 34. He'd probably fall in like the Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is making $30 million, dude.
Is he really? Oh,
he's making $30 million. Jalen Waddle's making 28. So I think T. Higgins is going to command $30 million. And
damn,
I'm not paying him $30 million. You can kick rocks. I don't care what you say. There's not enough money. We don't have enough. At that point, you have to cut Jalen Thompson, and then you have to also cut Jonah Williams just to get that extra $20 million.
Post June 1st.
Like you have to. Otherwise, you're screwed. Like, talent-wise, I mean, it would be cool, but then you would have three kind of not similar, but like Michael Wilson is like a C+ tier T. Higgins, I guess. Like, play style, they're the same, but like they're not the same.
Yeah.
I like
I mean,
Michael Wilson a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but like I
but
think if
that's
we
an
can get a
upgrade.
slot
Can
and
we
somebody who
agree?
can, oh, T Higgins is an
Yeah.
absolute upgrade.
Okay.
I think he instantly comes in, is the best receiver on the team until Marvin Harrison blossoms.
Finds his own. Yeah. Yeah. No, I
But
mean,
30
right.
million is, I think he's in Brandon Ayuk range. I think
That's
that's Brandon Ayuk range, and I
fair
don't.
that you. I'm actually glad that you brought that up, that comp, because now I can actually see that. Because when I was doing my offseason, because I would love the idea of the Cardinals bringing in T Higgins, but that was under the understanding that we're going to get him around like 25, and even then, that you think that's irresponsible, and I agree, but like, man, 30 is a lot of, that's a lot of quiche. That's
Because if
a
you're
lot
gonna
of
bring,
cash.
yeah, that's a lot. Because if you're gonna bring in somebody, like I wouldn't have been mad at like a CD Lamb. Like I really
Oh,
wouldn't.
to
I would love
trade
to see
like at
that
that
to
time.
trade for like a CD. I wouldn't have been mad at it whatsoever. But sheesh, just because like I know the production's not gonna fall off, right? Like we've never seen T Higgins kind of just be alone, and he's had elite quarterback play dang near his entire career.
With Burrow.
So it's tough to sit here and just like, yeah, I'm going to throw a bag at you. I watched CD produce with Dak Prescott, who I think is a very average quarterback, but like still not bad, right? Like Dak Prescott's not a bad quarterback whatsoever. I'm not going to say that and trash his name, but
Yeah,
like
fair.
average quarterback, better than Jalen Hurts, but kind of similar tiers of quarterbacks in my eyes. So I don't know. I would have been fine with like a CeeDee Lamb, but it's hard to see, especially Tyreek Hill too. A lot of people are throwing that out there too.
I
I'm good
don't
on that.
I don't understand that. I really
I
don't.
don't get it.
I think it's the
It's
name.
just
It's the
cancerous.
name. Yeah,
It's
it's the
like a
name.
cancer. You're just bringing a cancer and you're trading assets, and you're
Yeah.
taking $30 million cap hit. I don't want anything to do with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, me neither. No, I'm right there with you. I don't think it's a good culture fit. I don't think it's a right fit in general. And he's going to want to get that ball in his hand. And we got obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., which is hopefully slated to be the number one wide receiver for years and years and years and years and years and years, hopefully to come. Fingers crossed. But um, I don't know. It's such a fascinating thing to talk about the wide receivers, because I'm glad you brought up the Emeka Buka, because that's not really people aren't really talking about that very much, and I'm glad everybody's eyes are kind of open to the thought of like potential. Let me ask you this real quick. I know we're kind of hitting the hour mark here pretty soon. Quarterback, your boy, Kyler. Do you see a world where the Cardinals bring in a quarterback either through the draft or free agency, and not to take his job, but I think we can make a fair argument that we might need somebody to kind of not with Tune. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm an elephant in the room. Clayton Tune. Where do you see with that? Do you think the Cardinals can use another backup quarterback or somebody that can kind of push the needle? Or are you, no, let's not even focus on that right now? Where's your mind at that?
I wouldn't be mad at a veteran quarterback.
Okay.
And in both of my offseason predictions, I've had Jacoby Brissett mocked here, and I've had Jameis Winston mocked here.
Oh, okay.
I think both of those guys, if you can bring them in for under $2.5 million, go right ahead. Like, there's no point to not elevate backup quarterback. Bring somebody in the room.
Right.
I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett because I think he's more of a student of the game, and I think he is a better quarterback. I think he's one of the best backups in the league. And if you can bring him in, I think that would be fantastic, not only for film sessions and just dissection of everything and just having another smart mind in that locker room. Because what is Clayton Tune providing right now? What is he doing in that locker room right now? Like, the arm strength is definitely not there. Like, we can all agree that Clayton Tune's arm is a noodle compared to anything. Like, watching Kyler throw the ball and then watching Desmond Ridder and then Clayton Tune throw the ball at training camp, it's just like the zip and just the placement of passes. Like, you could just tell Desmond Ridder was the worst quarterback there. Like, Clayton Tune was definitely better in terms of accuracy and just decision making. Desmond Ridder was terrible, but like the zip on the ball was not there from Clayton Tune. There's nothing that he really does that I think is elevating that quarterback locker room whatsoever. And look at what happened when we had Colt McCoy.
Oh,
Kyler loved him.
Colt.
And Colt McCoy sucked in the last season of his career. But like when he was here, I mean, he gave us some good production in games when Kyler did miss time. Now, if Kyler misses time, it'd be nice to have somebody to back him up, somebody who can come in here and actually rally the troops. And I want somebody who's able to actually break down film and be like, okay, this is what we got to do. We got to do boom, 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 boom. Oh, you should hit this because this defense is shaded over to the right or whatever. The corner's already dropping out 10 yards. You should be hitting them right here. You got to find soft spots in zone, blah, 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 whatever it is. I want a quarterback in there who can actually contribute. Clayton Tune is probably just coasting right now. Like, if I get an opportunity, I'll play. but like I don't think he's a valuable asset in any aspect.
Let me throw some names out at you. Tyler Huntley, Marcus Mariota, Justin Fields. Any of those? So Malik Willis is also there, but I figured out that Malik Willis is actually under contract still. Any of those three guys do anything for you in a backup role?
I think Justin Fields is still a very bad quarterback.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things wrong with Justin Fields, and I think he is going to get a bag. I think he's going back to the Steelers. I just think that's what's going to happen. I think Tyler Huntley is somebody who would be interesting.
Nope.
One-time Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting, but he wouldn't be on my
top
highest. He'd probably be number 3, I guess. And then who was the other name you mentioned?
Marcus Mariota.
I think he's going back to Washington for sure. He looks like he loves mentoring Jaden Daniels. I think that's the perfect spot for him because he looked good when he had to play, and I think he absolutely loves Jaden Daniels. A lot of people love Jaden Daniels, and it's hard not to.
Yeah,
it's hard not to.
You're right. It's hard not to for sure. No, okay, cool. I mean, I'm very intrigued with the way that the Cardinals are going to hopefully handle this situation. I mean, you heard Jonathan Gannon, man. Jonathan Gannon said that Clayton Tune has made progress, and I'm not trying to back. I mean, I was a fan of Clayton Tune when we drafted him. I'm not gonna lie to you, but like backup quarterback, I am looking for somebody that we can potentially go to and have confidence that if you need to win a game or two, you're going to get that, right? And unfortunately, with the what am I trying to say? The not progress. Is it progress? Yeah, I guess progress of what we've seen from him, it just hasn't been great. Now, he's not his fault. He didn't really got the opportunity to do so, but I don't know. I don't have the confidence coming to 2025 for the off sense that if Kyler does need to miss a game or two, because we were fortunate that he played every single game this year, right? Every single game he played this year. We were very fortunate, but looking at history, that seems to be kind of the downfall. Can he stay healthy? But I would love to bring somebody that can give you a game or two. And I don't know. I don't have the confidence. I think Tyler Huntley is interesting, for sure. Justin Fields, it's the name, man. It's a name out there. And then Marcus Mariota, I think I kind of agree with you. I think if he was smart, he would go back into mentor.
Because I think they'd want him back too.
Yeah, because it's not like we're offering a wide or quarterback one position. You're going to be a backup, right?
Because like, what's the point in leaving, especially to Arizona? Like, if you're Marcus Mariota, you're like, hey, I found a spot not only where I fit perfectly, like absolutely perfectly, I can actually sit here, mentor somebody, and if he gets injured, I can step in, and I have weapons. Right now, I have one of the best. I have a top 5 receiver in the league that I'm throwing the ball to. Not a lot of people have that, especially coming into a situation like that. And the offensive line played a lot better. Yeah, Terry McLaurin for sure, top 5, easily. I love Terry McLaurin. I can't lie. He's such a baller.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be, like, when I'm looking at that offense with Cliff and Jaden, there seems to be something like they can use some upgrades. So like they're not playing with,
they need I think they could sign T. Higgins.
Yeah, that would be
that's a team that could sign T. Higgins. They have Cap. They're like top 5 in Cap. I think they need to. Like, personally, if I'm a Commanders fan, I'm either throwing a bag at T. Higgins or I'm trying to upgrade that defense as much as possible because that's their downfall for sure. You have a couple bright spots, but that defense is not getting any younger. Bobby Wagner, I would extend for another season and then keep trying to build it. I mean, if I'm them, Stephon Gilmore would be a name. Like, it's very old, but I mean,
how long have we been talking about Stephon Gilmore? Like, we've been talking about him since like
I wanted him since 2020 freaking one,
dude.
It's
so crazy to still talk.
And look at him. He's up.
Yeah.
He's an elite corner. I mean, he's elite.
Yeah.
He's been good every single place he's been since 2021. And every single year I find myself making a dang video on Stephon Gilmore, bring him in. And it didn't make sense last year. It didn't. But like when we were competing, we could have had CB1.
Yeah.
We could have had a lockdown. But no. It's like I'm just a kid, man. I'm just someone who doesn't know shite about football, apparently.
Right. Or what do they say? You don't know ball. That's what
you don't know ball.
You don't know ball. That's what people
now, yeah, now Gilmore's like 33 years old, and it's like whatever team gets him is going to be a contender, and he's going to play like 1 or 2 more years, and they might not look pretty. We don't know. Yeah. Last year looked great, but the Vikings system, I feel like offensively and defensively with Brian Flores, and then the offense is just they can make anybody pass that ball. I'm very convinced. I think Daniel Jones would look decent. Like I think JJ McCarthy's going to come in here and look pretty dang good too. Like I
Do you
just
think
think
so?
I think so. I just think their system caters so much to passing the ball, and they have so many weapons. And Addison Jefferson, Hawkinson, and they just replaced their running back with Aaron Jones. Like they
Do you
have
think
so many weapons.
you think Darnold takes a back seat, or do you think he gets a bag somewhere?
I'm not resigning him if I'm Minnesota. I wouldn't have done it before the postseason.
Yeah,
And that game was awful for him, the offensive line.
yeah, that was bad.
Like, it was just terrible. So, I don't know. That
Yeah.
quarterback play week 1 was something in the playoffs. Oh, my goodness.
Wait, going back to Howie Roseman, and I know we're about to end this, but another guy that fell to his lap is Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Starter, which the Cardinals could have drafted him, but we traded back. And I like Max Melton too. Like you can like the players that you get, but also acknowledge that, dang, you probably could have landed that guy. I do like Cooper DeJean too, another guy that lands in the lap of Harry Roseman. And I don't know why it just popped in my mind, but okay. Well, I think this was a very productive conversation. I think we've tackled a lot of different things for the people out there that are talking about draft in the chat. We will get to that in due time. Right now, obviously, it's the dreaded Super Bowl that we have to watch. And then we're gonna hit the offseason running with March free agency. We also got the Senior Bowl, the Combine, all these different things coming our way. So, all right, Mythic. Oh, let me call you Justin. I got to call you Justin. All right, tell everybody how they can find you here. You are on the road to 8K now, right?
Yes, we're 400 subscribers away from 8,000. So if you guys want to check me out, man, and you enjoyed the conversation we had, I post Arizona Cardinals content, NFL content at Mythic AZ. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I think it's Mythic AZ on Instagram and I'm Mythic AZ on X. So if you guys want to check me out, man, I would appreciate it, man. Appreciate you having me on today.
Of course.
Great conversation.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you all for tuning in. We are going to be closing up shop right here. Another shout out here to BetUS, the sponsors of the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. And guess what? They now got a casino. So spin your way to a massive jackpot with BetUS Casino, and they have amazing deals, 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 and 250% crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. What do you know? All right, ladies and gentlemen, smack the like button here on your way out. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Another shout out here to Justin, aka Mythic AZ. Check out his YouTube channel on the road to 8K. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cardinals.